Right now, there is a plastic spoon's worth of microplastic inside your brain. It was not there 10 years ago, yet it is growing. Every time you scrub a dish, your sponge sheds millions of invisible plastic particles onto the plate your family eats from. But for 9,000 years, humans used a vine that grows its own sponge inside a fruit. Then plastic came, and the vine disappeared. Here is something that should bother you. The sponge sitting next to your kitchen sink right now is made from polyurethane foam. That is a petroleum product. It was born in a chemical plant, sealed in plastic wrap, and shipped across an ocean to sit on your counter for 2 weeks before you throw it away. Then you buy another one, and another one, and another one for the rest of your life. In 2026, researchers discovered that a single type of common cleaning sponge releases more than 1 trillion microplastic fibers worldwide every single month. Trillions of microscopic plastic fragments flowing from kitchen sinks into waterways, into soil, into the food chain. Scientists have now confirmed the presence of microplastics in human blood. A product designed to clean your home is contaminating everything it touches. The numbers behind this are staggering. Households in the United Kingdom alone throw away 400 million sponges every single year. Each one takes approximately 500 years to decompose in a landfill. In the United States, multiply that waste across 122 million households, replacing sponges every other week, 52 sponges per household per year. The global sponge and scouring pad market is valued at over $5.5 billion. It is projected to reach $6.5 billion by 2030. For a product that is consumed weekly, repurchased monthly, and never questioned. Every kitchen sink on Earth becomes a recurring revenue stream from the moment someone moves in until the moment they leave. That is the business model, not cleanliness, revenue, and the waste is extraordinary. Polyurethane foam, melamine resin, nylon scouring pads fused to synthetic backings, none of it biodegradable. All of it breaking into particles too small to see but large enough to enter your bloodstream. A product marketed for hygiene has become the source of contamination it claims to prevent. Here is what should bother you more. Before plastic existed, human beings still needed to scrub. They still needed to wash dishes, clean surfaces, exfoliate skin, and filter water. They had been doing it for thousands of years, and they found something, not an animal, not a mineral, a plant. The record stretches back further than most people imagine. In ancient Egypt, as far back as 3,500 BCE, a specific vine was cultivated along the Nile. Pharaohs and queens bathed with the dried fibers of its fruit. The Egyptians called it a natural sponge. They grew it deliberately. They traded it deliberately. They passed that knowledge down through dynasties because it worked. In China and India, the same vine appears in records spanning thousands of years. Farmers across Southeast Asia cultivated it as both a food crop and a cleaning tool. The young fruit was eaten at the dinner table. The mature fruit was dried and used to scrub the kitchen after dinner. One plant, two entirely different purposes, depending on when you harvested it. These were not primitive people making do with what they had while waiting for something better. These were civilizations that built irrigation networks and trading routes spanning entire continents. They had access to sea sponges, to animal hides, to woven cloths. They chose this vine deliberately. They cultivated specific varieties deliberately, and they maintained that choice for millennia because nothing they found worked better. By the late 1800s, the plant had reached the West. In 1893, a journalist in New York reported that these natural sponges were in enormous demand, with enthusiasm building to place one in every wash basin in the land. American and European households adopted them rapidly. Before and during World War II, the Allied military used the dried fibers of this vine as oil filters in diesel engines and steam engines. The military trusted this plant to filter engine oil inside combat vehicles. Most of those sponges were imported from Japan. Then the attack on Pearl Harbor cut off the supply. Synthetic foam arrived shortly after. Cheap to manufacture, easy to brand, designed to fall apart so you would buy another one. And within a single generation, nobody remembered the vine. But the vine did not disappear everywhere. It only disappeared from the places that replaced it with plastic. Walk through a market in Cairo on any given morning. You will see women selling dried fibrous cylinders stacked in neat pyramids, natural scrubbers grown along the Nile Delta just as they have been for centuries. The same rich alluvial soil, the same steady heat between 25 and 30 degrees, the same vine, the same hands peeling the same gourds. Walk into a kitchen in Guangzhou, China. A grandmother is slicing a young green gourd into thin rounds and tossing them into a hot wok with garlic and sesame oil. In southern China, they call it sigua. It is a summer staple, stir-fried with eggs, steamed with soy, served in soups. The same plant that dries into a sponge is eaten for dinner every single night across hundreds of millions of households. In northern India and Pakistan, they call it turai. It shows up in curries and stews. In Vietnam, they call it muop and add it to clear shrimp soups. In the Philippines, they stir-fry it with tomatoes and call it patola. Nearly every part of the plant is edible. The young fruits, the tender green tendrils, even the flowers. Hundreds of millions of people across Asia eat this plant every single week. And in the West, most people think a loofah is a sea creature, 3 continents, thousands of years, a vine that feeds you when it is young and scrubs your kitchen when it matures. No other crop on Earth serves both functions from the same harvest. The modern synthetic sponge emerged in the middle of the 20th century. Polyurethane foam stamped out by the million, color-coded, shrink-wrapped, branded. The real revolution was not hygienic, it was commercial. Sponge companies spent decades convincing an entire planet that the only legitimate cleaning tool came from a factory. Anything that grew on a vine was primitive, backward, something people used before they knew better. The marketing worked so completely that the question stopped being asked. Nobody asked whether the old method worked. It had simply been reclassified as something people did before they had access to real products. Today, the industry approaches $6 billion globally. A product consumed weekly, repurchased monthly, never questioned. Meanwhile, a vine that grows its own sponge in 90 days generates 0 recurring revenue for any corporation. You cannot patent a gourd. You cannot brand a wild plant that has been cultivated across 3 continents for 5,000 years. You cannot create a subscription model for something that reseeds itself every autumn and climbs back up the fence every spring without being asked. There is no pack to sell monthly. No premium scrubbing version at twice the price. The vine grows. You harvest the fruit, you peel it, you use it. The vine grows another one. The transaction is between you and the plant. No middleman, no shareholder, no quarterly earnings call. The sponge industry depends on 3 things: weekly disposal, monthly repurchase, and the universal belief that no alternative exists. A vine that replaces the product, composts itself when finished, and regrows its own supply threatens every single link in that chain. This is not conspiracy. This is economics. What cannot be sold cannot be marketed. What cannot be marketed disappears from consciousness. Now let me tell you exactly what they replaced. The vine is called Luffa, Luffa aegyptiaca. The dried sponge cut from its mature fruit is what most people call a loofah. And here is the part that surprises nearly everyone who learns it for the first time. A loofah is not a sea creature. It is not harvested from the ocean floor. It is a climbing vine in the cucumber family that produces large cylindrical gourds on a trellis or a fence or an arbor in somebody's garden. The vines are aggressive growers, up to 15 meters tall in a single season, large yellow flowers, broad star-shaped leaves. The plant produces both male and female flowers on the same vine, and each fruit can grow over 1 meter long. When those gourds mature fully and dry on the vine, the interior flesh transforms into a dense network of tough tough, interconnected fibers. It becomes a three-dimensional mesh that no engineer has successfully replicated with synthetic materials. You harvest the dried gourd, you peel the papery brown skin, you shake out the seeds. What remains is a natural sponge that grew on a vine in the sun. No factory, no petroleum, no chemical processing, just a gourd that decided to become a cleaning tool while hanging on a fence. The dried fiber is primarily cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin, the same structural compounds that give wood its strength, but arranged in a porous mesh that scrubs without scratching. The plant has been used in traditional medicine across Asia and Africa for centuries. Different cultures have documented its use for skin conditions, inflammation, and digestive issues. The compounds present in the plant include saponins, flavonoids, and phenolic compounds with antibacterial properties. But the application that excites researchers most right now is not medical, it is industrial. Material scientists are studying Luffa fiber as a reinforcement material for biocomposites. The natural fiber is being tested as a replacement for synthetic materials in automotive interiors, construction panels, and sustainable packaging. The same fiber that scrubs your dishes today could line the interior of your car tomorrow. A sponge from a factory contains polyurethane and sheds microplastics with every use. A sponge from this vine contains cellulose and composts in weeks. One sits in a landfill for 500 years, the other returns to soil in a single season. Oh, and if longevity and plant science fascinate you, my friend runs a channel called The Centenarian's Garden, all about blue zone secrets and what actually helps people live past 100. Go check them out, you will not regret it. Now here is the part that changes everything for you. You can grow Luffa in your own garden. The vine thrives in hardiness zones 5 through 11. That covers most of the continental United States and equivalent climates across Europe and Australia. It needs a long, warm growing season, at least 4 months of consistent heat to produce mature sponges. In cooler climates, start seeds indoors 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date. Soak the seeds overnight. The seed coat is hard, and soaking speeds up germination dramatically. This vine needs something to climb: a sturdy trellis, a chain link fence, an old arbor, a cattle panel arched between 2 posts. Give this vine a vertical surface, and it will cover it completely in 1 season. Full sun, warm soil, consistent water during establishment. Once the roots take hold, the vine becomes vigorous and productive with almost no additional input from you. If you want to eat it, harvest the young fruits when they reach 6 to 8 inches long. They taste like a mild zucchini. Stir-fry them with garlic. Toss them into summer soups. If you want sponges, leave the fruits on the vine until the skin turns brown and papery and the gourd feels light when you shake it. That means the interior fibers have fully developed and the moisture is gone. Peel the dry skin, shake out the seeds, rinse the fiber under running water. Let it dry in the sun. You are holding a sponge that grew in your garden over a single long season. Each fruit produces between 500 and 1,000 seeds. Save them for next season. Share them with your neighbors. One single vine produces dozens of sponges per year. 1 season supplies a household for 12 months. Save the seeds and you never buy a sponge again. The vine reseeds itself, it climbs, it flowers, it fruits year after year after year. In Galicia, Spain, a company is already growing these sponges at commercial scale. The mild, humid Atlantic climate creates ideal conditions for fiber development. They are producing sponges for kitchens and bathrooms across Europe. They are experimenting with computer casings made from Luffa fiber, with building insulation panels, with biodegradable packaging. The future of this plant is not limited to your sink. It is material science. It is construction. It is the quiet replacement of petroleum-based products across entire industries that do not yet realize what is coming. But the vine does not care about industries. It does not care about market projections or material science conferences. It cares about climbing. It cares about flowering in the heat and producing gourds that dry into perfect fibrous cylinders while hanging in the sun. It has done this across 3 continents for 5,000 years. It survived the arrival of synthetic plastic. It survived the entire 20th century. And right now, somewhere along the Nile Delta, a farmer is peeling the brown skin off a dried gourd and stacking the pale sponge inside for market. The same motion that Egyptian hands performed 5,000 years ago in the same soil, along the same river, under the same sun.